So right now I'm vice president and manager of pre-construction for Turner's sports and public assembly project. So it's anything where you get a large bunch of people coming together. That's the kind of projects that I've been working on for the last 40 years. Excuse me. So what I do there is I predict costs on the final cost of projects based on minimal information. Sometimes it's just the number of seats. 70,000 seat stadium in Kansas City, a new replacement for the Chiefs. What should that cost if it opens in 2029? So I have a lot of data and I have a lot of information on completed projects that I use to predict the final cost of future projects. So I'm in the market buying things, steel and glass and electrical and all sorts of things. So and in the old days, it was a lot easier. You'd look at old projects, 10 years old, and you'd escalate them and you'd bring them up and you'd say, what should that cost today? And you could fairly reasonably predict those costs. Today, it's a whole different ballgame. So let me give you some statistics. The GNP, which is the gross domestic product, is a measure of everything that's built and all services in the United States. It's a huge, huge number. And it fell 9%, fell 9% because of the pandemic, as opposed to 4% for the Great Recession in 2028. So that was significant. So this impact from COVID was twice as bad as what we experienced in 2008. Employment decreased 13.6%, 20 million jobs between March and April of 2020. So this was a sudden change in the marketplace for people becoming unemployed, and that was more than in 1929. What are the causes of this? What's going on right now that we know about that caused this sudden change in the market and created market volatility? Labor. So we've always known that the workforce, and I'm speaking now from my experience in the construction business, that the workforce was aging. There was a big move for everybody went to college and everybody wanted white-collar jobs and we wanted to work with their hands. Nobody wanted to work outside. And that's showing up now. And some statistics there's a number of statistics, but the average age of the construction worker is in the late 40s, early 50s. In some trades, it's even worse. So there's less people, skilled people, key point here, skilled people in the workforce. Now, another factor is that in the pandemic, people were leaving. They just said, had enough, I'm going to get out of here. And people are changing their work priorities. So there's a generations younger than us, Bob, who just see this as just a job. And if I can get a better job, I'm going to go do it. If I can get more vacation, if I can get more benefits, which is not a bad thing, but but people are moving and changing. And so people invest in training and it doesn't pay off in the long term. Also, people want to work from home. In COVID, everybody said, hey, I can do this at home. In fact, I have a story of a colleague of mine was looking to hire some local talent on a job up in upstate New York. And he had a great candidate. The guy was wonderful. He thought the world of him. And then the guy said, hey, I need to work at home. I said, well, you can't do that. There's a construction site. You have to be on site and it's not an option. So those changing priorities are also decreasing the workforce. Transient workers, people are commuting to projects. Another job I'm working on now that the majority of the skilled workers the job is so big that the majority of the skilled workers are coming from outside places. So that increases costs, travel costs, living costs, and premiums to attract those people to come into to areas. We just had a recent, tell you a story about a job, a big NFL stadium that I'm working on. We had to buy masonry. There's usually a large amount of masonry on these projects, and we need people who can do it. And there's a couple of factors that go into the pricing of this work, and one is productivity. And an average mason can put in 100 blocks, 8-inch CMU blocks, cinder blocks per day, 100. So if you're bringing in people from out of town, people you don't know, you can't plan on them doing the same productivity as the people that you know are working for you, that you're in direct employ. So what's happening is you're paying a premium to bring in people from out of town, as I mentioned, hotels, food, travel, and you're getting less productivity. So it's a double whammy here. There's a double problem for you getting very, very high prices, and that is contributing to a major part of market volatility that we're seeing today. Some other things, early retirements. There's a lot of people, unlike me, that are retiring earlier in their careers, and that further is depleting skilled workers and quantity workers. Transportation is another issue. I read recently that we're 80,000 truck drivers short in the United States. 80,000. There's 80,000 positions that could be filled by truck drivers. So if you're paying premiums to get materials, and in my industry, things come from all over the country and internationally to build these big stadiums. Transportation is a big cost. The other thing that's happening is that when COVID hit, a lot of the projects stopped, construction stopped, and there's a big backlog now, and now everybody's rushing to get things done. Battery plants, data centers, storage centers, hospitals, all sorts of things that got stopped are starting now. So there's a lot of work out there. So companies can choose what the work that they want, the high profitability, low risk, high profit. So the next cause of this market volatility is materials. And if you've bought plywood, somebody was working on plywood recently, just talking about doing home repairs. After the pandemic, lumber went crazy, along with aluminum, glass, and steel, all the major commodities that go into building things, even at any scale, So these shortages were caused by a lot of things, including labor shortages in factories. On a NFL stadium recently, you can imagine the amount of electrical power. In some cases, it's as much as 50,000 kVA. I don't know if that means anything to you, but that's like a whole city. And so this it requires electrical gear, transformers and switch gear, where the power comes in, it's reduced, and then it's distributed out to all the panels in the building. But anyway, that equipment used to be 2 or 3 months. Recently, it was over a year, and we had to buy that equipment early in the project and then assign it to, because we didn't even have an electrician on board, but we needed to buy this equipment to get it on board. So there's been a lot, supply chain interruptions have been huge problems for us. Chip plants, right? Remember how we said there was a movement to build more chips and products for technology in this country rather than importing from China. So Turner's built plants. We just finished one in upstate New York, but the priorities of the chips didn't go to washing machines and microwaves. So there was there were shortages of household appliances because the manufacturing priorities of some of these items went to other things. I don't know if you knew, but there is a current drought in Panama right now, which is affecting traffic through the Panama Canal. Who knew, right? That this would have an effect on anything, but anything coming from China, South Korea, Japan, India, coming through to get to the East Coast is being affected. Yep. We still have an active program to seek out qualified military people. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. So let me go to the third topic here of the effect of all of these things. And the biggest one is the inability to hold prices. So you can imagine in my business, when I'm asked to predict the final cost of a project based on no information, I don't know what these things are going to be. We recently bought plumbing on a big project. And just give you some round numbers. Our budget was originally $50 million, which was based on historical numbers. We said, what are all these jobs cost? What should this cost? $50 million. The design developed, there were some things that they added and all that. And then we said $70 million. And on bid day, we went out to 40 subcontractors, 40 subcontractors. Some of them were smaller contracts than that, but we got two bids on bid day, and the number was $96 million, almost twice our original budget. So talk about market volatility. And the second bid was $119 million. So two bids. And basically the guy said, that's it, take it or leave it. And he was from a faraway place, and he had to bring in people, and he had that same issue where he didn't know the quality of the people who he was going to hire. He was paying a premium to attract them, paying for transportation, hotel, food, and all that. So wherever these guys are, when it snows that day, they're in the hotel playing cards, and they're getting this premium. So all of that factored into the job and to the price, and that's where things came out. We're fine. Can imagine if you were getting steel from South Korea, which we have done in the past, and it's sitting in a lock in the drought in Panama, and you need it because everything that I do in my business is sequential. You need to dig a hole, you need to pour concrete, you need to get steel, you need to enclose the building, you need to put a roof on it, you need to do the interior. And all of that is in a very specific sequential order. And when that's interrupted, it's time and money. And it gets very, very messy. The pent-up demand from the pandemic recently is creating opportunities right now. I mean, if you were a truck driver and you had truck driving skills, you could get work this afternoon. You could get work. It would happen that fast with that much demand. Last point I want to make is that I'll give you a story about on a very large job. We have, as on all of our jobs, we have diversity and inclusion quotas. And on one job, we had a 6% service disabled veteran requirement. It was on a huge job. And so we were actively looking for these types of, for these businesses. And sure enough, we found one, and we teamed them up with the larger businesses that can mentor and bring them along, provide bonding and resources to help develop their businesses. And on this project, this was for interiors for tile flooring on walls, and the low bidder was did not fulfill the inclusion and diversity requirements, but the second bidder had was an entire it was like a $5 million contract. It was a service disabled veteran business, and the owner looked at it, and the community weighed in, and sure enough, the second bidder got the job. So there's a lot of opportunities. So keep your eyes open for large projects that are looking for businesses that can help fulfill these requirements.